We're now going to merge into our first of two panels. This is the customer panel. And I thought it would be fun to sort of, these are the speakers, all of this amazingness going on this afternoon. This is the reason we're here. So let's treat these panelists like the rock stars they are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read their bios. We're going to call them out one by one. And then you guys, it's like Prince, let's go crazy, okay? So here we go. So the panel theme is a little less conversation, a little more action. And Emily Beach is going to be our moderator. She played a huge part in Traction, growing from 7 people in a log cabin in Port Moody to over 225 people strong across North America. Today, Emily is a general manager for delivery in the Vancouver office and has played a critical role in the success of clients like Alaska Communications, Ritchie Brothers, Time Warner Cable, and Rocky Mountaineer. Okay, so let's seriously go crazy. Please welcome your panel moderator, Emily Beach. Woo! So good, so good. Okay, and I apologize that I'm going to be reading. I just don't want to miss any of the awesomeness in these bios. So panelist number 1 is Andrew Van Dellen. He has been with Patagonia for 8 years, and yet, despite the fact he's been there for 8 years, due to its organizational culture, he's often still referred to as the new guy. Andrew is responsible for the outdoor professional customer portfolio. With over 10,000 requests per year to join this program, Andrew and his team are currently leveraging Salesforce and automating the workflow to provide a better overall experience for the outdoor professionals vying to become members. Let's go crazy for Andrew Van Dellen. Woo! Yeah, get back out here. Okay, I'm mad at you though because we said you were going to bring the cha-ching, cha-ching and shoot Patagonia products out.
Yeah, Peacock dropped the ball on the cannon.
Where is he? Where is he? Chris stood me up too for... I'm not bitter at all about live band karaoke. Okay, panelist number 2. Before joining Direct Energy, Ken Long spent many years at AT&T and was responsible for the call management tool which transformed the way AT&T managed their 125 million calls per month. Ken joined Direct Energy to assist residential sales through tech solutions. Rockstar welcome for Ken Long. Come on out, Ken. Yeah. Okay, our last panelist, and I wasn't going to tell this story, but he was also locked outside with me yesterday, and he didn't see the doorbell either, so it made me feel a little bit better. Amir Javidan of TO Networks has worked in the tech industry with organizations like Electronic Arts, Creo, and Kodak. He's currently SVP of Operations, contributing to the ever-expanding success story of TO Networks. He's been an advisor to growing companies here in Vancouver like Bench Accounting, Lastwall Networks, and MTT Innovation. Please welcome Amir Javidan. Woo! Yay! Good stuff. It's all yours, Emily.
Awesome. Thanks, MJ. So this next part is all about action, or as Greg says, getting her done. So the focus for today is really centered around companies becoming technology companies. The reason we've asked you 3 to come in today is you're all key players in making this a reality for your organizations. You've each been in the trenches, so soliciting buy-in from stakeholders. You've been involved in actually implementing the change, as well as maintaining the change going forward. So what I really want the audience to get out of today is to get an understanding of how you, or how the 3 of you and your companies get her done. So before we get into the dirty details, can you give us a quick intro to what your organization does? Andrew?
Sure. Patagonia is a global apparel manufacturer. We also publish books. We have an investment fund for like-minded startups and a food business in Patagonia Provisions. We're a B Corporation and a founding member of 1% for the Planet.
Awesome. Ken?
Great. Direct Energy is the largest retail provider of energy, electric and natural gas in North America. Pretty large company, about 5,500 employees, $20 billion in revenue last year, and we're really trying to make that tech jump.
And I'm with TO Networks. We're a financial technology company based here in Vancouver. We have 3 offices in the US as well. And we provide bill payment processing services to large utility and telecommunication companies in the US. The bill payment industry in Canada is typically a foreign concept because we're one of the most well-banked countries in the world. But in the US, you have about 70 million people who don't have bank accounts and are considered sort of the underbanked demographic, and that's kind of the space that we play in. And we process about $10 billion in payments annually, and we have over 70,000 retail locations that process our payments.
Thank you. So Andrew, what was the bottleneck that led Patagonia down the path of technology change?
About 3 years ago, we realized that our customer contact center and our retail stores didn't integrate very well. So phone, chat, email, brick and mortar stores weren't able to connect to service the customer should they engage with more than one of those channels, which they always do. So we went down the path of launching Service Cloud to bring those channels together and have transparency into what the customer has done and interacted with Patagonia as a brand.
Awesome. Ken, for you, what were the critical indicators that raised the need for a change?
So honestly, I had no idea what was going on. We didn't understand our data. You know, it took 3 days to get the data, and then it took 3 weeks to figure out what was happening. You can't run a business that way. You have to know real time. So we've created things where we could look at what's going on out in the field real time. We can make adjustments, and that was the biggest point that we made.
Great. Amir, you mentioned that TIO acquires companies. You were talking about earlier a company who was stuck in the technological dark ages. What was the biggest challenge in bringing them on board?
Yeah, one of these companies that we acquired, we've acquired 3 companies in the last couple of years, and one of them was this family-run business that has been sort of 2 generations family-owned, and you've got employees who've been there for 30, 40 years, well before personal computers were around, founded in 1963, and trying to get this company with sort of the history and mentality that they have out of this kind of significant dark age phase, and so they were doing just some incredibly concerning things. Their customer service reps were sending snail mailing customers forms to fill out when they needed something signed. They were faxing. They have sort of several thousand retail locations that if they needed to send a notification out to, they'd have a human basically sitting at a fax machine for 3 days faxing things, right? So this was kind of the caliber of technology competency that we were dealing with, and so over the last year and a half, we basically, there was just sort of all these glaring things they were doing that were concerning, and so kind of, getting them out of the dark ages, really, right? We introduced Service Cloud to their customer service reps. That sort of was a stepping stone to allow us to outsource their tier 1 calls to our offshore call center. We sort of got them off their legacy accounting system onto SAP. We no more snail mail, faxes, all that kind of stuff. So I mean, there's a lot of sort of technology change that was instituted in the company. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of for us was an interesting testament to sort of how much technology can sort of revamp the way a company operates.
Great. So, Ken, you played a key role in moving Direct Energy's door-to-door sales from a clipboard to iPads. Can you talk a bit about what importance data played in that transition?
Look, as I mentioned in my opening statement, is that prior to this implementation, we didn't know what was happening, and it took us weeks to react. Now we get the data right away. But even beyond that, the agents now have access to a lot of data, so they know what's happening. They can see what's going on with their partners. And it just opened up the eyes of the sales team and allowed them to manage it so much better.
So did you have any challenges in terms of the agents who now had all this data at their fingertips? Did you have any challenges getting them to adopt and use that data properly?
Shockingly, actually, I expected them all to embrace it immediately and say, "Oh, this is amazing! You're giving me an iPad. How good is that?" But there's such a resistance to change that we see out there, and we had to go out and show them. Actually, go out in the field and say, "These are the benefits you're going to get. Your throughput to the sales is going to be 15% higher, which means you're going to make more money. It's going to be a lot easier for you to sell. All the data is right at your fingertips. You're not lugging physical contracts around and writing them out." It's just, once they got that vision, now the adoption is amazing, if the iPad breaks for some reason, like immediately on the phone, I can't deal without an iPad. I need one right away.
So did they believe you at first when you told them that this was going to give them a huge boost in sales?
It was hard. They didn't actually believe it because, again, people just don't like change. But once they saw it, once they started utilizing it, and it was real, right? They saw what was occurring. And bottom line for a lot of them is the checks were bigger at the end of the month, right? That drives a lot of it. So.
Amir, when you were onboarding this new company, were there adoption issues that were kind of similar? Like, did people understand the value they were going to get out of the tool?
Yeah, I mean, you had these people, like I was saying, that sort of were so behind the times. So there's definitely, I think, a lot of challenge with trying to get people to understand the benefits of the change. And I think what's really important is you got to really think about how you want to measure the success of that change after it's implemented. So, you know, it's one thing to just put it out there and it's implemented and you kind of chalk it up and say it's done. But, you know, thinking about how it impacts all the lower level employees who, you know, in a lot of cases may just sort of submit themselves to the fact that, okay, well, this change has been imposed on us and that's just the way it is. They may not surface constructive feedback about how it's impacting their day-to-day. So I think it's really important to understand at all levels, you know, how that change is impacting the employees and also measure, you know, things like what is the adoption rate, what are the pain points, and make sure you're sort of staying really close to that after the change is implemented.
Yeah, have any of you actually put those metrics out in front of the end users before even implementing the change so that they know what those metrics are and what success looks like?
So we tried to get them involved from the very beginning because they're the experts, right? They know what they need. So we didn't try to build it within a little technology box, which a lot of times we make that mistake. So a lot of input from them, back and forth, really made a big difference for us.
That's really great to hear about not just working within a small team of people who are implementing technology, but actually pushing it out through the whole business. So Andrew, hey, who here owns Patagonia gear? Yeah, all right.
He didn't bring his free gear to
yeah, very disappointed that Andrew didn't bring the gear.
I don't know.
But for all of you who own Patagonia gear, I'm sure you know how important the customer experience is in terms of satisfaction to the brand. So in terms of kind of what we were talking about before with taking the technology out of just the technology and expanding it to the whole company, you actually went one step further and really focused on the experience for the customer. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. Like I said before, we know that our customers are engaging with the brand in our dealers and our brick and mortar stores, online, on the phone, via chat. So implementing the Salesforce Service Cloud allowed us to monitor and service that customer more effectively. So if they made a phone call, we log that transaction with the brand, and then the store employee could pull it up on their iPad and speak to what the customer called about should that issue not be resolved, or maybe they had a question last week about a jacket. That rep is now more equipped to handle that customer or help them in a more effective manner because they know everything that has happened between the customer and the brand, regardless of channel that they have engaged with.
And what was the biggest change you noticed as a result of that?
I guess I would say that after the adoption phase and the struggles of getting people into the technology would be the transparency of what our customers are actually doing. And there's a lot of value in that, to see how often that same customer is chatting in or calling in, or with Patagonia, we have a really robust warranty, so this gave us some transparency into how often are these customers, or maybe that 20% customer, that 1% customer who's abusing the warranty. We now have complete visibility into that, and we can mitigate those damages a lot more quickly. We also recognize the top 10% a lot more easily as well. So you can see your great customers who are calling in, or maybe they wrote in an email about how great their customer experience was, the store employee now knows that and maybe can stoke them out with a water bottle or Frisbee and just keep that loyal customer really loyal and help equip that customer to tell your brand story.
Great. So we've talked about building a culture of technology within our end users, within our customers even. What about stakeholder engagement? Ken, have you had any struggles with trying to get stakeholder buy-in?
Yeah, I think anytime you're implementing technology, there's obviously a monetary investment that's significant, but we've been lucky to get a lot of autonomy, and we were given a direction and kind of a lot of freedom. So, but the bigger projects we start, now we have to go back again. So we're rolling out CRM. That's been a struggle to just get the C-suite to say, here's $5 million, go ahead and do it. All right, so that's a little hard, but you give them a good picture, you give them good data, and if you prove yourself over and over, it's a lot easier.
All right, so give them good data and the bigger picture.
Yep.
All right. Does anybody else have any comments on stakeholder engagement, getting buy-in?
I mean, I think it's just important that you have the right people around the table, and especially when you sort of want to do something that's a little bit more out there and people may not immediately understand the benefits. Especially when you come from sort of a space where you think that technology is something that you got to continually push into the business. There's other stakeholders who may not see the benefits immediately, and so yeah, I just think it's important to keep them sort of understanding and be able to sort of present the value proposition of it.
I think clear communication with the stakeholders. A lot of times the technology projects are pushed or green lighted by executive level or high management, and the end user doesn't really understand the benefits. So having their buy-in and being transparent about the pain points. I mean, when we launched Service Cloud, our chat functionality was worse than what we had before. So it's really helpful to treat your end user or your stakeholder with respect and just say, look, this might not be the best experience, and chat might be an example of a bumpier road, but here are some great things that we're getting, and having that kind of global positive communication about why we made the decision through all ranks.
Great. Amir, you've seen a lot of local companies succeed and fail. What insights would you share with the audience, and what should they consider when deciding to make technology changes?
Well, I think one of the things that's important is that you don't get complacent about the technology you already have in place. With TIO Networks, this is a company that's been around for a long time, and I came in sort of later stages, and now we're going through sort of significant growth as a result of M&A activity. But when I contrast that to when I was at Avigilon and it was all organic growth, when you're a startup and you're sort of, all the problems that you're solving as a business are all new problems, and so you have the opportunity to not have any sort of baggage around the problems that you're solving. It's all just sort of, you've got the opportunity to solve that in a fresh and sort of greenfield way. When you've got a company that's been around for a long time, there's sort of decisions that have been made in the past and legacy processes that are already sort of ingrained in the business. And so it's a bit more challenging to sort of, shift that around. But I think what's important is you always think about, not getting complacent with what technology you already have. I mean, having Salesforce, having a CRM, having an ERP system or different systems in place. I mean, you can check all the boxes and think that you're doing well, but I think it's important to sort of always be thinking about what are the newest and greatest innovations that you can take advantage of as a business. And the way that I'm solving problems today are very different than 6 years ago at Avigilon when we were early stage, because we've got access to more solutions, right? So, I mean, you look at something like machine learning and the capabilities that exist there now. I think, every company has to be thinking about over the next 5 years how they need to incorporate the capabilities of machine learning into their business. If you're not, within 5 years, you're going to be behind the 8 ball as compared to your competitors. It's just a fact of life, right? So you've got things like this that you've got to be sort of continuously aware of and making sure you're sort of innovating in these different ways and taking advantage of them.
Yeah, Greg was speaking earlier about needing to look forward and not backwards when we want to be innovative companies. What's the newest technology or the next technology that you're excited about? Andrew, do you want to tell us a bit about what you're working on right now?
Sure. With the pro business, it's kind of a membership program to the brand where outdoor professionals apply and kind of get vetted to be part of the pro program. So we're working closely with Traction to develop what we're calling the Pro Cloud, and it's a way to automate some of that application process, automate the renewal of the expiry of that pro membership so the user can reapply for the program. And traditionally, Patagonia has, and I'm sure many of the companies here, you just kind of throw bodies at your problems. And if you need more, as you scale, you just scale your staff instead of scale your capabilities. So this project will allow us to stop kind of throwing bodies at the pro customer service group and leverage some technology to have more responsive application processing with some automation.
Great. Ken, any innovative, forward-looking technologies that you guys are excited about?
Tons. So we've grown through acquisition and not organically, so we have so many silos and silos within silos, and we're, in my opinion, way behind. We have a lot of catch-up to do. So implementing CRM is a huge step that we're taking, and just really, I'm a true believer in getting partners to help us, because we might think we're the experts, but we're not, right? We need help, and engaging people, like the people in this room, is a big thing.
Great. And what's the most exciting piece of technology for you that's coming up?
Well, I kind of mentioned this actually earlier, but we're sort of exploring utilizing machine learning in several different ways. We're looking at analyzing kind of our user behavior and understanding and trying to sort of proactively understand and predict what's going to happen in terms of how users are paying their bills. We're also looking at it to identify IT events and hardware events that are happening with our kiosks. We have a network of kiosks. There's a couple thousand kiosks we have out there, and basically surfacing hardware events and allowing us to understand and predict preventative maintenance. So for us, that's a big sort of interesting area. Yeah.
Great. So very exciting. So for the people in the audience, I'm sure you have lots of questions for these guys. So make sure that you submit your questions in the app for a chance to win Sonos, and also for a chance to hear more from our speakers here. Thank you guys so much for your time and for coming and sharing your experiences with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.